So far, we have seen so many derivatives already, right? We have seen exponentials, polynomials, but the other type of functions that is very common is trigonometric functions. So let's see the derivatives of those. So the derivative of the sine of x is the cosine of x. Okay, and careful here, the derivative of the cosine of x is minus the sine of x. Okay, so careful with this negative sign. Then there are two more functions that we need to remember, or at least know how to find the derivative, that are the tangent, right? And the secant. Okay, the tangent, the derivative is the secant square of x. And the derivative of the secant is the secant of x times the tangent. Okay, so these two we also need to know. Now, the derivative of the sine and cosine you need to memorize. But the derivatives of the tangent and the secant, these ones we can work out from the derivatives of the sine and cosine, okay? How do we do that? Well, it's the quotient rule, right? So the tangent is the sine divided by the cosine. So this is d dx sine of x times the cosine minus the sine of x d dx times the cosine of x. And then divide by cosine square of x. So this is the cosine of x, the derivative of the sine is the cosine times the cosine is the cosine square minus the sine of x, the derivative of the cosine is negative sine of x, so makes a sine square with a plus. And then divided by cosine square of x. Remember, the sine square plus the cosine square is equal to 1. So that is 1 over the cosine of x squared, and 1 over the cosine is the secant. Okay. If you feel a little rusty about the secant and all this, now would be a very good time to check the appendix to the book, where you have all the trigonometric functions. Okay. Of course, we could do also the secant, right? Because the secant, we just said it, is 1 over the cosine. So we could apply here the product rule. So this is d dx of 1 times cosine minus 1 times d dx cosine of x divided by the cosine square of x. The derivative of 1 is 0. Okay, so this term disappears. And the derivative of the cosine is minus the sine. So that makes sine of x divided by cosine square of x. And this is 1 over cosine of x times sine of x divided by the cosine. So this is the secant times the tangent, okay? So this is how you do it if you don't want to memorize these two. Let's do one more example. Let's mix functions now. So let's say we have the exponential of x divided by the sine of x. Let's find the derivative. So this is d dx ex sine of x minus ex d dx sine of x divided by the sine of x squared, and this is exponential of x, sine of x minus ex. Derivative of the sine is the cosine divided by sine of x squared. And well, now we need to try and simplify. There are different possibilities. So we could do, for example, ex 1 over sine of x minus cosine of x divided by the sine square of x. That's one option. Okay, there is no really good option here, or we could decide, okay, ex, this is 1 over the sine, that's the cosecant, minus, and then cosine divided by the sine square, that's the cosecant of x divided by the tangent of x. But this is not particularly useful, so in this case I would go with the one I boxed. Okay, something you can do to practice, you can do this derivative f of x 3x sine of x plus 1.